We're here.
We are here.
Episode 65. Who thought we'd be here?
65. We can retire. I hadn't thought of that. Bless you. You're eating peanuts.
Can we retire in the United States?
Isn't that no? Not in the United States, but at least in the Netherlands or something.
Didn't France just change their when you can retire age?
Did they?
I mean, there was a bunch of riots about it. People don't like Macron because of it.
Macron. Macron.
That's how you say it.
Yeah, people don't like him.
It seems like it's a recent... I mean, when you're fairly conventionally attractive, I feel like you should be liked. Isn't that part of being conventionally attractive?
That's why I am not liked, because I am not conventionally attractive or fundamentally attractive.
No. That's not true. I would agree with you. You're not conventionally attractive. I love you. Hey, speaking of being conventionally attractive,
we got shows.
We have shows. We have
welcome to the season finale. This is a party.
Yeah, and it might be a part
two.
Part two.
Part
Who
two.
knows?
Macron.
But yeah, I mean, thank you so much to our sponsors this season. It's been a lot of fun. We have Old Faithful and Old Mother.
Oh,
Zing.
Hey there.
They are some of the most supportive folks here in Frederick for this podcast, for us as just humans, really, and honestly, really for the music scene. Very grateful for Nick and Keith and Kristen and Sean for making the delicious beer and doing all the things. Very, very grateful for you guys giving a shit about this podcast and allowing us to drink your lovely beverages and do other things. Now, speaking of things that are Old Mother and lovely, they have a new beer release. It's at least a week old at this point, but because we're on this new taping schedule where we tape kind of before we launch, which is weird, right?
Yeah, doesn't make sense.
They have a new beer release. It's called the Terry Lynn, Colin's first girlfriend's name, actually, and it's a lemon meringue pie dessert ale, 5.8%, and this beer is brewed with Meyer lemons. Mayer? John Mayer lemons, vanilla beans, and the lactose reminiscent of a lemon meringue pie. Available on draft and cans to go. My wife cannot have that because that has milk, and we're on a whole no dairy thing because it's
really you can't do milk anymore.
I mean, I can, but I'm in solidarity. I choose to pretend.
You could do oat milk, right?
Oh, we do almond milk in our household, and it's pretty delish. Anyway, speaking of delish, Texas Roadhouse, Season 2 sponsor, thank you so much. You will never sponsor this podcast again, but we're so grateful you did. I hope your sales were steakalicious and the bread was never ending.
And if any of you people who have never actually gone to try and get free money for Texas Roadhouse from us, we haven't gotten any responses from any of these because nobody's listening and nobody's watching. But
I think people are listening and people are watching. They aren't just listen. Like, I think they're skipping our interviews just to get to the music part, and that's when we do all our giveaways.
I noticed that our average time listened was 15.6 seconds.
Which is weird because it's only the end.
I know, but you could, if you actually get your picture taken with the Could Be Better sign at the Texas Roadhouse in Frederick, Maryland. It's only going to be there for another month. You do that, you put it on the Instagram, you put it on the TikTok, you put it on the Love is Blind fan page.
Yeah, and you tag us in it.
We will give you, at this, we got $100 worth of gift cards. Well, we got 3 $100 gift cards.
We have so many hundreds of gift cards that we want to give you. Just tell people about the podcast, get them to subscribe. You know, let's make some stuff. Let's make some dreams come true. Because we know Texas Roadhouse we know Texas Roadhouse made our dreams come true this season.
That's right.
So help us make your dream come true and tell us more.
And the other two? Nobody watches the other two?
No. It's just you, actually. We talked about this. You told me it's on my list to watch.
It should be. They released the season 3 first episode. I'm pretty excited.
What's it on?
HBO.
Max?
Yeah.
Which is now just called...
Max.
Confusing.
Max.
Speaking of Max, I am Max excited about our Season 2 sponsor, Specialties.
Oh, right there. They also printed this. Oh,
almost.
That's not true.
But Hannah, Adrian, Justin, Front Desk Brett, Andy, everybody at Specialties. You all are lovely, lovely humans. Thank you so much for being somebody that we like to work with, somebody that will tolerate and working with us, and do exceptional work, and it's easy to get people to come to your stuff. So again, for folks that are just listening now that are snoozing out this thing.
Yes, you only listen for 15 seconds. We are raising a glass. See, we're drinking the fancy stuff for this. This is for specialties right now. Cheers to you, specialties.
Cheers to you. This is Robinson. Okay. And
cheers to you, Mrs. Robinson.
Ayo. Now, 10% off your first orders. Tell them Could Be Better sent you. It's not that hard to figure out. Or
and somebody used the code, I've been told.
Yeah, it's been great. So we're really happy that one person did it. So thank you. You know who you are.
You have no idea what that meant.
Yeah, it was. I think I called Colin as soon as I found out. I was like, dude, somebody used the promo code. So those are all our sponsors.
Well, we got to cheers to Old Mother.
And cheers to Old Mother.
And to Texas Roadhouse. Do we put them together?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. It's
Texas
the most
Roadhouse
media, so
Old Mother.
thank you all so much. Now, we're here.
Yeah, this is a very self-indulgent. I had this idea. We talked about this for weeks, if not months.
It's been a bit.
That we would sit down for the final episode or episodes of season 2, and for once, interview each other.
Yeah.
And I'm sober outside of what you just saw me drink. So,
well, I think
that's
you said
important.
was, I know I dodge questions.
I did say that. That's true.
And you said you want it to be uncomfortable.
Yes. So make me uncomfortable because
right.
I will be honest. This is going on tape for anybody who wants to arrest me, or I guess that would be it. Maybe my nieces will want to see this someday.
We'll make it niece appropriate. It'll be fine. But before we get into you, let's get into what's coming up on our show schedule.
We got some shows.
So again, everything's on our website. So we're going to take a break for the summer for people that obviously
very much
care so much.
By the way, you should watch the Anoop episode. I saw there's only like 12 people who saw it, but you should listen to that or watch it.
Is it really only 12?
I mean, the YouTube stats and YouTube, they don't lie.
You're right. It's 13.
13?
Wow.
I don't know about the I mean, did he pump it at all? Anoop? Yeah. Are you watching Anoop?
He doesn't watch. He just listens. He downloads and then
we're
deletes.
gonna have to text them.
It's
you
fine.
know what we should do? We should randomly call people on that.
That'd be great. We'll start with John Love.
We'll start with the Anoop. I was gonna say John Legend. I once had John Legend's cell phone number in my phone. He changed his number.
I get it. I would too. You're calling me all the time. So we're taking a break over the summer, so you'll still see us posting stuff on our socials, doing all the things. But at the end of the day, everything's on our website. So our lovely and beautiful and handsome friend Brody did all of our website stuff, so it looks great. It's easy to find, all the things. So anyway, it could be better meh.com, and we have our shows. We have all of the podcasts that we have. If you haven't tuned in, we launched the network this season, and so we had 2 great podcasts that are out. Weekly with Kiki, she wants to keep going, but I said, hey, we got to be a little more consistent, so we'll see what happens.
See what happens.
So she might be wrapping up, and then This Is Not My Magnum Opus finished up their first season. They did a great job.
And they're coming back with a vengeance, I think, the next time around, right?
Yeah.
There's going to be a print component.
Yeah, and they're working on that now.
Yeah.
I saw Nicole a couple weeks ago, and her fingers were like caked in ink because she was working so hard.
Those people, you should not listen to us. In fact, we know you aren't listening to us.
Yeah, please don't.
So if you happen to be coming across this, go check out This Is Not My Magnum Opus. Go check out the Weekly with Kiki. We are very, very, very excited and happy to have had them do full seasons of this podcast network, right? That was so much fun.
Yeah. It was the first time they've all done it. And it was like, we learned a whole lot. I learned a ton through working with them, trying to figure this out. And I also know it's tough running a podcast, as we know. Like, this last month has been brutal.
On somebody. On
everybody.
The turnarounds for these edits and the technological stuff. Maybe if we do a third season, we'll have a different...
Intern.
Yeah, we'll have an intern that could do it. If you want to intern with us...
Yeah, send us an email at...
email us at couldbebetter@texasroadhouse.org.
So speaking of things that that are organized, we have shows.
Are you going to talk about these shows? We introduced this 3 minutes ago.
I know, sorry. We were riffing and having a good time. Apparently this is what people care about, though, which I think is ridiculous.
The shows? Really?
No, about you and I bullshitting.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. Well, you're in for another 2 hours of it.
Yeah, I know, pretty much. So buckle up, So we have. We'll make this fast. Saturday, June 10th, we got Flooded, Dumb Valley, and I think the Dirty Middle.
Oh, really? Good.
It's gonna be
good. I was just
show.
talking to Adrian the other day.
Yeah,
good.
they're trying to figure out if they can do it, but I think they're gonna do it. So we'll announce it now and make them.
Shout out to the Dirty Middle. Love you guys.
The best. And then we have Frederick's home of the first original emo night at Old Mother on July the 15th, and it's going to be Motion City soundtrack. It's going to be
Everything
Dashboard
right.
Confessional.
Your
It's going
hair.
to be Jimmy Eat World. And
Are you listening?
Thank you. And then Fall Out Boy.
I'm just a notch in your bedpost. But
That's so good.
you understood I didn't have to change my register at all for
No,
any
it was
of
the same
those
thing.
songs. Yeah.
I'm impressed. And it wasn't just the big choruses too.
It wasn't.
Good for you.
I'm going down.
That's what I was
down,
expecting
fuck-
you to do, but yeah,
no,
you're like, no,
I'm just
no,
a
no,
notch
no.
in your bed. When that line came out, man,
was a big
I was
thing.
blown away.
Mhm. Speaking of being blown away, when Corey sang that when the Vens played at Old Mother back in February, he flipped the verses and it was really embarrassing.
Oh,
Yeah, it was really funny.
that doesn't work.
No, and he just
That
laughed it
doesn't-
off, and I said, Corey, it's
No.
that song. What song?
No, man, that ain't it, bro.
That ain't it. All right, so we got that. So again, you can buy your tickets now for this
And
because
we're close to being sold out. You told me.
yeah, it's kind of scary. So like we're really close, and
It's
and,
nuts.
and once it's turned off, like
It's
this
done.
is Frederick. That's it. We want to
they're-
keep these going. So
Yeah.
like when they're done, they're done. So don't be lame.
There's a finite amount of space.
It's like $6-7 after service fees. It's not bad.
Holy shit! Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a $5 ticket.
I know.
Yeah, but then it's like a dollar.
Or was this Eventbrite?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
fine.
So, so there's a little bit of a thing, but it's like at the end of the day, $7 is less than a beer.
Yeah, if you're at Old Mother.
And if you're at Old Mother,
and I've paid for those
and
beers.
yes,
Hey.
yes. And if you can't go, give your ticket to somebody else. It's not that
Yeah.
hard. Just buy it.
Give it to me. I won't be able to get in.
Yeah.
I also won't go.
Yeah. So just make him feel bad and give him the ticket. Anyway, so we have that. We have a series of other shows we haven't announced. So we'll just kind of talk about these last two. So we have Weed Coffin. A band on tour from Denver called Pathos and Logos from Colorado. And then we have Greenhead. All new bands. It's going to be a really heavy show. It's going to be sweet. And then we have Science Penguin, Marzi Maddox, and Paper Lanterns on Friday, August 11th. We got Jack Funk and Suniva in August.
Ooh.
We have... All right.
Well, you're going through the whole summer. Paper Lanterns. How do I know them?
That's EJ.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Okay.
Paper Lanterns, but instead of A's, they're V's because of copyright things. I don't know how that works. But yeah, I mean, Jack Funk and Suniva is going to be in August, and then like
Yes.
I'm just going to say it here. We're not going to announce it yet. But this
Good
is
Charlie's.
no.
Oh, no, that's... No.
We got Natalie Brooke,
Oh,
Flower Bomb from DC.
Oh,
They sound
my
like
goodness.
mansions, and Baby Photos.
could it be...
Friends of the show.
Love
Danny.
those. Danny, love that band. That's the episode of the podcast I watch back all of the
That's
time.
my favorite one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, and they were our second guest that brought. They were our first guest this season that brought gifts.
Gifts.
They're
yeah.
the best.
And there, so that's, I mean, we're not saying, but there could be potentially a second annual
Yeah.
family picnic.
Yeah, here at
Yeah.
the studio. So if you've been a guest and you're not just some random person, you can come. But if you're just listening, and we appreciate your listenership and your subscriptions, but don't come to our house.
Please.
Our
It's the
studios.
studio.
Our studio,
God
sorry.
damn it.
But that's going to happen, yes. So anyway, so that Natalie Brooke, Flower Bomb, and Baby Photo Show, it's going to be at Sky Stage. It may or may not be on September 9th.
Which may or may not be our second annual family picnic, and
Yeah.
their after party will be at the Could Be Better Studios.
Or before party. I thought we talked about maybe doing grilling or something
We
like
want to do an NBA Jam tournament. And I played
Yeah.
a lot of NBA
Yeah,
Jam
if you're interested, let us
yesterday.
know. We'll put your name on a list, on a good list. All right. Anyway, that's shows. That's what we're doing. That's what's going on. We'll talk about some more stuff in the last episode here. But yeah, emo night. Please buy tickets. Even if you're not going, just do it.
Please do that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of fun. Tell us how many tickets you bought and you don't intend to
Yes.
go
And then put them on StubHub.
for $10. Make
For $10. Make a profit. Do you know how to make a profit? We don't. So,
let us know.
yeah, please
Um,
let us know.
Bring in the song.
This is, if we're going to talk about me here in this very self-indulgent first part of this season 2 finale, I wanted to play a song from, I guess it would have been my first recorded band. I was 15 years old.
Okay.
This was from a Battle of the Bands. This was an all original song.
And you wrote it specifically for Battle of the Bands, or was like the best song
No, we
that
had
you
like 5 songs.
Sweet.
We had 5. We played them all. This is one of them. We were the only band that played original music. Of course, we lost because everybody voted for cover bands.
Yeah.
I come from a very small town, but I love these guys.
Do you remember which song won?
Which song? No, I remember which band won.
Maybe you don't remember the song they played.
No. We each got like 30 minutes.
Oh gosh,
This is part of the set. This is only one song from the set. If you want to hear the rest of the set, email me at chrisperry.amazon.org. And what happened was we felt so good. It was like it was like a big stage.
Was it a school?
It was in the field of the elementary school.
An outdoor thing
With a stage. It was a real stage. I have it on
sure.
VHS if you want to watch it.
That's awesome. You have a VHS player.
Yeah, I still have my VHS player still works, and I watch it and cry a lot. There was actually, too, the last thing I'll say, and then we'll play the song. The lead singer, his name was Matt. Love him to death.
Was Matt? Is Matt?
Was Matt.
Oh,
he
no.
hung himself. And I told you, we're going to be honest. We're going to talk about some shit on this podcast.
Yeah.
He hung himself. I miss him, and I love him. And I remember he wrote these lyrics, and we all had a good laugh. And I fuck up. If you listen to the drums on this, I fuck up a lot. So that's a good setup, right?
Yeah, it's a great setup. Here's fierce 15-year-old Colin playing his best set of his life.
It's called Doorstep. Saturday night, I sit on doorstep. I don't know if you want it here. Telling me to leave and I tell you everything that I hear. Said he was around, I'm still there. Said I'll be up in your bed. Well, I guess that makes me the one that's in control. That's still right. I'll be up in your head. In your head. How many times did I tell you? You gotta listen to what you say. Yeah. And the fact you never listen. It's a one bother me when you went. It's the fact you never tried to. When you always look so late. When you see you made me get away. I wanted to be lonely. I wanted to be lonely. Monday mornings are so lonely. When I wake up next to you. Sit up breakfast and get a lecture. What I wanna do. Just this fucking time I tell you. When you really make me feel. Need a break from all this bullshit. I need something that's real. That's real. How many times did I tell you? You gotta listen to what you said. Yeah. Whoa. The day you never listen. It's the one problem when you went. It's the day you never tried to. When you always look so late. And the shit made me stay with. I wanted to be lonely. I wanted to be lonely. Lonely.
We're back. It was great. I didn't even hear your mistake.
I know, because you didn't hear it at all.
Yeah.
So what's up?
We'll fix that in season 3.
Season 3. Is season 3 going to happen? Vote on our poll.
Yeah. Tell us if you want it, and we'll do
Go to
whatever
Blue
you
Sky.
say. Yeah. God, Blue Sky's weird.
You got to be into Blue Sky. You're that dude who knows all of that.
I don't have an invite. I requested one, but I think it's also weird. They're not letting like any heads of state on there either. It's gonna be kind of interesting.
You are a head of state.
I am on a state. So anyway, so we'll kind of start like I guess talking a little.
This is gonna get weird. That's why we have the whiskey.
That's why we have the whiskey. So there are a couple things. One I want to know. It's like this podcast is a labor of love, 100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like this season's been particularly tough.
More labor than love.
Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Yeah, there's been
for both of us though.
Yeah, I mean it's been hard. Like I
it strained our friendship. We should say that.
Yeah, I mean we had many conversations, pretty much like right before we taped, where it was kind of like, hey, are we still doing this? Like, are we having fun? And it was like, yeah, but it was like, I mean, we tape in the evenings. You work extremely early. And then I have a new job and then a young kid that's perpetually sick. Yeah. So it's like it's very tough to find time to like walk into a room and feel great about just hanging.
Sure. Yeah.
It's mostly like, hey, let's walk into the room and like get through it so we can all go to sleep.
Right. Which is not a good way to do this.
No, I mean like it's a way to do it, but like it's not our preference. But I think the reality of life now for us both is like, oh, when we just have time to do something. That doesn't happen.
It doesn't. You know, I said this to you on the phone the other day. Well, it wasn't the other day. It would have been a couple weeks ago at least. But, and this is a problem I continuously find myself running into, which, you know, is probably my fault. But I don't think our lives have room for surprises. Yeah. I don't. Like, you can't, at this point, for whatever reason... We can dive as deep as you want to dive, but for whatever reason, if I just call you on a random Tuesday at 6:30 at night and I'm like, hey, man, you want to grab dinner? That's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with me. Now, you have those two people at the head of this show, and then musicians or people or guests, whatever you want to call them, they have their lives too. So maybe some of them say, hey, we'll show up at this time. And then they say, we can't do this time. It's very taxing on us.
Or they don't even show up at all.
That happens too, including my band. Thank you, Double or Nothing.
No. To be fair, they were here.
That's true.
I was doing a callback to last season with our guests, which we thought they were in a fire, actually. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
But they're all fine. They're all fine.
They're all so far.
As far as we know.
So far sounds, by the way. Shout out. We should get... We come back for season 3. Who's the organizer?
Yeah, we could get a Zoom. We could get a Zoom on with them. I don't think there's a local here, but there's a local DC.
By the way, if you want to get real, we should talk about IMP, but we'll save that for another time.
But that is part of like the tough part is like we both, like you said, we don't have room for surprises. But it's like so the IMP was kind of a surprise, right? Like we have a pretty cool partnership with them that kind of exists, I guess, between. Old Mother and them because we solely book at Old Mother and do all the entertainment booking there or the music booking there. And they wanted to bump shoulders with us, and that's great. We had a good time, but I think they definitely needed more investment on like, hey, us asking for things or trying to do things. And I think they just wanted a place to send flyers, which it's like, at the end of the day, I get it. You need those spots, but I forget the guy's name who was interning for them. But anyway,
that was the connection, right?
Yeah.
And that's
younger guy, and then decided, hey, I like seeing shows at Old Mother. This is really cool, and then told his bosses at IMP, saying, hey, you should make the connection to Frederick, which was cool. And we had Matt on the show from IMP early this season. It was cool.
Great guest.
Yeah, good conversation.
And the band. Remember the band?
And the Crystal Casino band.
Yeah,
they were cool. Yeah, but it's funny. I've had more than a handful of people. Maybe just one handful of people they've said, hey, can you get me tickets to go see Death Cab for Cutie at Merriweather? And I'm like, because I saw you have that connection with IMP.
Yeah, I get that.
We couldn't even get tickets to
so people
the Crystal
should know this.
Yeah, we couldn't even get tickets to the Crystal Casino band that we had on the podcast, that we did even a ticket giveaway for them for, I think they were $10 tickets.
And we very much thought with everything in the partnership and et cetera, and this is why I make fun of it. And if we're going to peel the curtain back, let's peel it back. Maybe there won't be another season and fuck everybody. But we thought it's a DC band. We had them on the podcast. We put up flyers.
And they were a great guest.
They were great guests. The band was, and whoever the marketing manager from Matt was great. Was a great guest too. Look at in the archives. That's on YouTube. That's on Apple Music, Spotify, all that shit. But then we said, hey, maybe we want to check out the show.
Yeah.
Would it be cool for us to come by?
And I think we said 2 tickets.
2 tickets, which would have amounted to $20.
Yeah. Or maybe even $40 if they were $20 tickets, but I think $20 tickets is much.
That's fine.
Sure.
And they said, no, you got to pay. If you're going to.
Which is fine. But
it's fine.
But it is weird where it's like we did so much back scratching and then all of a sudden it was interesting. But I guess that's the business and that's the industry. So just for people that, were listening at the beginning, took a break, and then didn't hear us talk about anything about IMP, and then all of a sudden we're here. It's like, we like IMP generally.
We
right?
do. Now you're being very nice and kind and
well,
political-ish, which is fine. That's okay. I understand that. I like to burn things to the ground. So when I heard about, because I was going to go. It was a Thursday night. Crystal Casino was playing. That was the record release. I'm in D.C. on Thursdays.
Ready to go.
I thought, hey, I'll walk over to the 930 Club. We'll do this.
And it was partners. I mean, that's how it was talked.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah, I did think that.
Well,
and it's funny because that also speaks to what you said. People are like, hey, Death Cab's coming. Can you get me a ticket? I got those same types of conversations with people. They're like, oh, you're in with that. No, we're not. No. We're not in with IMP.
No.
Say that.
I mean, and we're happy that they are a part of, I mean, I'm sure no one's listening from IMP for this, but that's fine. Like, if you want to, email them the link to this episode, that's fine. But, like,
blacklist us.
But both of them that worked with us, like, we'd do it again, for sure. Like, if either of them needed something, we're happy to do it. But it was very weird where it's like, hey, they just wanted a place just to post flyers. And it's like, okay, like, is that a checkbox? Like, does that really do anything? But I do feel cool when I go and pee and I see the Foo Fighters on the flyer next to Lamar. Like, that is cool.
That is very cool.
But it is weird, though, when you're like, hey, let's do a partnership. And then it's like, there's nothing.
See, here's one thing that, again, you're being very, very nice. You're very, very nice with this. Here's one thing, though, that I really believed in. And I believed in when we talked to them. We talked to the people the first time. When we talked to them, and I brought this up when we talked to them, and it felt like it was okay. It turned out it wasn't. But what I would have really, 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 really liked, because this is, for whatever reason or another, become my existence while living in Frederick, Maryland, it was, hey, man, we love promoting your shows up here. That's not a problem. Happy to do it. Maybe once or twice a year, we could say to you, there is this great band from Frederick. I know you have 30 minutes before a national comes on at the 9:30, because now at this point the 9:30 is down here. The Anthem's up here, and Atlantis is all the way up here. That new venue,
and then Merriweather,
and everything, Lincoln Theater, everything else that IMP does. So it's like, maybe you could give a local band a shot. Just once a year. I'm not saying all the time. And I thought that would be part of the partnership. I was really excited about that. Yeah. That didn't happen.
Well, I think it's tough, too. It's like, and not just being nice, but just being, like, pretty, emotionless about it. But it's like, I know, like, they're flyer people. They're marketing people. Like,
we were a street team.
I know, exactly.
We were a street team.
That's right.
Which is fine. It has nothing to do with ego. It was just, when we were approached with the idea at first, it felt like it could be a little bit more meaningful, not for us, but for bands from this area. That
No. Yeah, there was never any, like, could be better Magic Carpet Ride we thought about it at all. But it was like, hey, how can we use this opportunity to help Frederick? Like, I mean, that's really what it was. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, if people and musicians came up to us and said, hey, your podcast is doing harm to our community, we'd stop.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, though,
nobody listens enough.
Nobody listens to tell us that. But also, like, people do actually do come up to us and like they love they like the podcast.
Well,
musicians
nice.
like having another thing to kind of have an audience to share things that just aren't music in front of people. And some people are interested in that. You know, some musicians aren't. They'd rather just play music and, you know, fuck off the podcast life. But some people are like, hey, I like talking and doing other things outside of music. So it's cool. But anyway, IMP was definitely something where we were really excited about it at first, and then it kind of teetered off pretty fast.
And that was also something, too, like, I mean, let's be honest. There's no reason for anybody to pay attention to us. So when that happened, it wasn't, what did I say 10 minutes ago? Our lives, we don't have room for surprises. But they came in and, like, what was his name? Matt. Is that what so he said, well, I can do this podcast at this time. So we would. Mm-hmm. Like, whatever they needed, we were happy to do, even though it might have conflicted with a few things in our personal lives. That was tough to deal with. We made it work. Because why wouldn't you? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't begrudge IMP. I don't begrudge us for doing that. It's just I was hoping that from this point forward, or not from this point forward, but I mean, you don't bust through a door in these situations, especially not with a company like IMP that has monopoly on everything. Washington, D.C. music. If you can get a little sliver of a crack, the clack, that's great. Like, that's more than you could ever hope for.
It's more than most.
And I thought we got a little sliver. Maybe we didn't. You know, in hindsight, maybe we didn't get that sliver.
Yeah. And, you know, full transparency, too. And unfortunately, like, I always default to, like, hey, I'm doing something wrong. And that's probably, you know, a character flaw. But it's like, you know, I think right when we first started talking with them, it was my new job stuff was getting kind of weird. Talking with them was just kind of like a back and forth. Like, there was no follow-ups. And it was kind of like, hey, let's do this thing. And like, hey, let's have this idea and let's do this thing. And that was kind of it. So, you know, maybe we didn't have enough of an audience for them to care about it. But I don't know. Who knows? We do have a stack of Texas Roadhouse gift cards we haven't been able to give away. So if we can't even give away free stuff, how can we expect to give away stuff for IMP? So it could be Better Nation. Thanks for doing what you do, which is nothing.
Yes.
All right. So we know what you didn't like this season. Now tell me what you liked this season.
I regret not having.
I didn't ask for a regret.
Chris
what you.
That's what I was going to open with. I loved the Anoop thing, and if you get a chance, the episode before this one, go back, check that one out. I have not listened back yet. I've edited it, but I haven't listened to it in full. Because I don't want to be disappointed. Because I honestly feel, and I don't know if you listened, Chris.
I didn't listen. I did a couple spots. I think it's the best episode we've done, though.
And why? That's what I feel. And I feel like if I listen to it and it just sounds like any other episode, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Oh no!
So I'm nervous about that. But I was very happy to get Anoop on. Look, one thing I hate about the idea that we do this podcast is everybody does a podcast. Yeah. It doesn't matter anymore. Everybody has a podcast. But I don't think everybody can get the drummer from a late night show on the week after he plays drums through. Like it was
days after he played drums. Yeah,
and he was an open book. He was amazing to talk to about that.
Like, if anything, like, I walked away feeling good.
Yeah,
and I mean, we both walked away feeling good. It was like, I mean, as you're taping, like, and the cool thing about for people that watch us on YouTube, it's like you got to see us kind of having a moment at the end of that thing too, and it was just kind of like I remember talking like, dude, that feels great. That was like a really good episode.
It really was. Yeah. And and well, there are stories we could tell that I guess we probably won't tell for the
lawsuit reasons.
Yeah, well, we have had people, what is it, 65 episodes now. We have had people who say, well, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to talk about that.
Sure.
And those things, in the grand scheme, are pretty minuscule. They are. It's like, I don't want to talk about being in a band I was in 10 years ago. Okay, we don't have to talk about that. That's fine. Anoop comes on who actually has done a significant thing.
Real stuff.
Yeah, real stuff. He's a real person in the real world. He's like, yeah, whatever you want to know, I'll tell you. Like, what's it like, Seth Meyers, during the break? What's it like rehearsing with the band? Did I get to meet Seth Meyers? Did I get to meet the celebrities? Go listen to that episode if you get a chance. Like, it's the most insightful thing we've done.
Yeah, it talks about playing out on Amy Poehler. Like, I mean, it's like, I mean, for me, it's like I love late night, you know, TV, and getting to hear like the inside baseball stuff is so cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
It was so cool.
And Anoop was such an easy like guest. Like, I mean, like, folks, we have a really long list of people who want to come on the show. some of you all are just really bad communicators. Anoop literally, like, I just texted.
That's right.
And I was like, hey, man, you want to come on, like, in 2 Sundays from now and talk about the late night thing? Saw that, super stoked for you, and goes, yeah, dude, I can make that work. Done. And
Right.
or he was like, hey, could you go a little later? I was like, we have a second guest coming, but, like, if you could do this. He was like, yeah, man, I can make it work. And then that was it. And then we emailed him, like, our pre-show thing where we talk about what we're talking about, or how to park, how to get to the studio, because it's security.
It's tough.
Security's tough.
It's gated.
It's gated here. You know, you got to do the keypad backwards and, like, on one foot. It's wild. But it's like he was just like the perfect guest, and so it was just very, like, almost like a breath of fresh air at the end of the season, where it's like it's been so hard finding guests and getting guests, and nothing to say on the guests that led up to Anoop, but, like, it has been tough for the guests that people don't know that we've tried to get on the show. It's been kind of frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of things set up for this season that did not happen.
Right.
And if we come back for another one, hopefully they will.
Yeah.
But if they do, it's going to be under a completely different pretense, I would think.
Yeah, I almost kind of wonder, and we'll get back to you here in a second. I wonder if, like, we start pre-taping shit. Like, maybe we just do interviews and we just try to keep them, like, timeless and just talk about stuff. But it's like, the thing is, like, it's still Frederick's stuff. So it's like, hey, like, it's what's going on, what's happening right now, what's this thing. So it's like, it's not like we could have an interview with XYZ business owner and then say, hey, we're going to launch this in September. Like, that's not, you know.
That's true.
I mean,
we probably shouldn't talk about this on air, but
Sure.
but that's true. And there was a project I was involved with very, very, very shortly, where, for instance, at the Weinberg Center here in Frederick, I went backstage and got 10 minutes with Toad the Wet Sprocket. Remember Toad the Wet Sprocket?
Nope.
Well, they were big in the 90s. They toured with Hootie and the Blowfish a lot. They played at the Weinberg. And, you know, I sent a few emails and made a few phone calls, and I was able to interview the guy on video and audio backstage. It has never seen the light of day, but we could do things like that in theory. Why don't you email us at toadthewetsprocket.gmail.amazon.net.
.gov. All right. Do you want to play another song? You want to get into some?
We can play another song.
some
What do you want to do?
I mean, I'm fine. I mean, we can play out whatever. So
We're recapping the whole season now.
Pretty
This
much,
is
yeah.
kind of fun.
Yeah. So I mean, that's kind of where I was like, hey, like, tell me what you enjoyed and what you didn't enjoy. Which I think, hey, you know, the IMP was kind of a weird blown thing for sure. But then, and you regret not having Chris on, which is great. He'll be our first guest in season 3. Which, by the way, Chris, you will be our guest on season 3.
But we did have Kenny on.
Yeah. God, Mr. Husband.
I just saw.
So handsome.
I saw a clip today of the show that I missed.
It was a great show.
And it was of Riding a Lightning Bolt, which is one of my favorite songs from
It's a
them.
great song.
It's just, I regretted so hard not being
Yeah.
there. I had the FOMO.
Yeah, it is. It's one that's been particularly good to the boys. Yeah, I love
Hit
Kenny.
it, Chris.
Yeah, so that is what he says. Well, the funny part, Kenny doesn't ask if Chris is ready ever.
I know.
He asks everybody else because he knows Chris is always ready.
Right.
Yeah, they're
And
friends.
Chris is a good sport, too. See, that's the thing. That
Yeah.
There's going to be a through line here. We're talking about Anoop being
Yeah.
like, you're like, hey, can you come through this day? Okay, cool. Like, it's the same thing. Like, Chris, you're like, hey, you ready to start? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There's so many people. If there's one thing that I've learned, and maybe we'll get into this after this music break, about these people
Yeah.
in this area, it is the amount of self-importance that kills me. And I understand you can't do everything when it's asked. I understand people have lives. We've already complained about our lives in doing this podcast. I get that. But there is also a certain attitude that comes along with those statements and those responses that is very much not welcome here in the Could Be Better studios. Am I wrong, Chris?
No. And self-importance is an interesting way to say it, because I would have said it's just like lack of self-awareness, but maybe even a little bit of just like, because I wouldn't say selfishness, because I feel like that's such like a hard line, but like, but it is a sense of just like, it's a genuine lack of concern for somebody else, of like, oh, maybe they're also working through something too. It's just like, oh, you're asking me to do this thing. Oh, I don't want to. I'm not going to respond to you. Or like, oh, like, I'm not going to confirm. Like, guys,
Sure.
like, hey, like, I mean, I have a lot going on. Like, and I want to make this work. And it's not all about me, but also like you said, everybody has a podcast. So I have a hard time feeling like
Right.
Like,
You should be on this podcast.
Yeah.
Right. We're not
Yeah.
important. And that's the thing. I'm so glad you said that because that is going to segue into what I wanted to say. I'm going to look. Please, director, back there, zoom in on me. Thank you.
Get a close up.
You know, we've never taken this serious. I've never taken this. I don't want to speak for you.
No. We okay.
This started because we were friends, and it was the pandemic.
We're friends. Did you hear
Was-
that? Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
His name was Matt, and you did it. You did it.
I did.
And it was fun, and that was it. And
Was fun. Was fun?
What I'm saying is I've gotten flack. I've had conversations with people who've listened to the episodes. I've had conversations with you, heated conversations with you about me being drunk on this podcast, which is why I'm happy to not be drunk right now, which is why I wanted to not be drunk doing this right now, because this was not something that we thought this is going to change our lives or it's going to matter at all. But then it kind of happens. You know, people started reaching out to us to come on and things like that. And it's great. Like, all of that is great. But we do not take this seriously at all. I have embarrassed myself outrageously throughout the 65 episodes that we've done. Like, if you look at some of these episodes, I'm very, very aware. Even before the YouTube days, if you just listen to some of them, it's embarrassing for me. If I'm going to try to get a job somewhere, I hope they never find this podcast. But that's because this was just for fun and to help people. Like, even if there were 10 people, 10 people who clicked play, maybe 3 of them never heard of the Dirty Middle, or they never heard of Mr. Husband or something like that. And it's not false humility. It's not any of that. That is literally, it's always been the goal. It's like, if there's one person who's never heard this band, who can hear this band,
that's from this town, that can go to a show and see them and have a good experience. Like, I had multiple people say, like, dude, that Marshall Floss band is sick. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They're fucking great.
Which is, like, that's the only reason we do this.
And the thing is, like, there is so much, and you know, both you and I are so the kids say stands for Frederick music, right? I mean,
that's fair.
I mean, you have done an extraordinary thing for Frederick with your playlists, with doing the shows at 200 East. Like, you have, like, this, like, you know how good it is. And it is, like, tough when it feels like, generally speaking, people shit on it because we're not Baltimore or DC. And so it is, like, it has been kind of cool for us as a lifeline. Like, hey, I know this podcast isn't super cool, but it is cool for us to be able to be like, oh, we get to kind of, like, brag about our friends.
Very much so. And, you know, it's confounding to me to this day. Frederick is in the sweet spot. You're 40 miles from Baltimore, Maryland. You're 40 miles from Washington, D.C. Yeah. And it's not like there aren't people here who are very good musicians. Like, for instance, Natalie Brooke. We talked about her earlier. She is she's fucking world class at this point.
Yeah, I mean, she's played in French live French late night shows. She played something recently. Yep.
She's amazing.
Yeah, best piano keyboardist in Frederick.
Well, beyond that, like, go down and watch her, and you'll be blown away here in Frederick, Maryland. Now, I understand there are bands in Frederick, when they put on their profiles on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok, on whatever it is that they have, they don't say they're from Frederick.
Get it?
They say they're from Baltimore.
Eat shit.
They say they're from Washington, D.C. I've been here now almost 13 years in Frederick, Maryland. From the minute I got here, I saw some pretty good bands. None of them wanted to be associated with this town. So if there's any drum that I have been beating over all of this time, that includes Frederick Playlist, that includes 200 East, that includes any band I've been in, it's, hey, what's wrong with saying Frederick, Maryland is where you're from? And if you want to see us, come to this town, because this town's great. Do you think Austin, Texas, 50 years ago, had people saying, we're not from Austin, we're from Houston. No. We're not from Austin, we're from Dallas, we're from San Antonio. Like, whatever city they could latch onto, they would. At some point, somebody said, we're actually from Austin, Texas. Yeah. And then there were other artists from, wouldn't you know? Like,
and it turns into this whole Keep Austin Weird and this whole thing.
And nobody wants to do that here.
This is an amazing segue to exactly what my next thing is. So let's bring into this band that is from Frederick.
That is true.
And keeping on brand with self-indulgence here, this is Double or Nothing's latest single.
Maybe we'll have them on someday. TMS is the name of the song. And seconds. You're in. You're going.
We're back. Dude, we told you this. I told you this at the top of the show. What's his name? Guitar player.
Oh, Ryan. Yeah, man.
Great. It's acquired taste for vocals, but it's a cool tone. He'd be a killer frontman for a punk band. And the thing is, Double or Nothing wasn't ever supposed to be a band with vocals.
That's very true. Yeah.
And it was just and I saw you all with Joe, so pre-Ryan.
And it was just an instrumental band.
And it was still good.
Yeah.
But man, like Ryan adds a lot to it, and it's cool, and into it. So check him out.
Double or Nothing.
Facebook,
Instagram, Facebook.
It'll be in the show notes. Also shout out to your band, April, Dan, podcastless, guestless Ryan, who wasn't here, and then hey Donnie, by the way. We had our worst hiccup ever. And we'll get into one more inside baseball thing, and we'll get into some questions that we're kind of getting into this. But it's like, Double or Nothing came on. They taped a great episode.
We did an entire episode.
No. A great entire episode. Like, it was end to end. I thought it was great. And
Nobody will ever hear it, though.
Nobody will ever hear it because there was a technical snafu, and it's gone. So
it's
super
gone.
fun. But it is kind of, it's hopeful and disappointing all at the same time that we did 63 episodes, and it busted then, and it hasn't happened since, and probably won't ever happen since. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
Get into this here. So we talked about you knowing that people and musicians generally are like scared of being labeled from Frederick because maybe that puts them into a box, or they think industry people won't care about them if they're not from a major city, or blah 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 blah. My question to you is, so it's like, so you said earlier, you moved here 13 years ago. Is that still correct? 13?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have stopped working for the job that you moved here for.
Mm-hmm.
You're working a new job now in the nation's capital.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still here in Frederick, and you're still doing stuff in Frederick. Why?
That's a great question. I was, it's funny. I was asked that like 4 hours ago when I was out to dinner at the new hip Mexican place, and why don't you move? Why don't you move closer to DC? Like all of that stuff. I don't know. I don't know that I have a definitive answer for that. I mean, it's really hard to start over. I was thinking of the question that was asked to me at dinner when I was walking back here.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that very question the whole walk. And now you're asking it. So that's very serendipitous in some way. It's very hard to start over. I'm not saying I'm opposed to starting over because
Sure.
I do think there's... And, I will tell you, again, since we're cutting wrists here, I will tell you my exact response in my head when I thought of that. Now, this will be a little annoying, too. You know what? I think that I'm pretty good for about 3 to 5 years at a place. And then I get to a certain point, and that's enough. And it's not enough. That has nothing to do with Frederick. It's enough
Sure.
of me.
Sure.
Like I look back when I think of, I've been here 13 years, like I said, if I would have stopped after year 5.
Oh, we'd have never met.
That's true, but everybody might be happier. Like I don't. No, it's really, it's one of those things though where it's like you get to a certain place where you say, well, everything's done. Everything's done. You cannot go any further.
Sure.
And I don't think I recognized that at the time, like when 200 East was happening, or Frederick Playlist was happening, or all the Flying Dog partnership, which was a really big deal at the time.
Huge.
All that shit that was happening. I don't think I recognized that then. I do now, and I appreciate it much more now. But there is something to this town that I very much enjoy. And it has absolutely nothing to do with music, really. Like,
That's funny.
So
what is it then?
I don't know. I have my running route. Whenever I run, I clearly haven't run in a long time.
Well, you got a bum knee.
I do have a bum knee. But, it's not even my favorite place for restaurants. When I first moved to Maryland, I lived in Hagerstown for a little bit, and I had those restaurants that I loved there. I still love them more than any restaurant in Frederick, and I know that's sacrilegious to say.
What's your favorite restaurant in Hagerstown right now?
Vince's Pizza. You got to try the chicken salad, man. You got to try the grilled chicken salad.
People can just tune out right now.
Or the Broadaxe. The Broadaxe. I don't know if you've ever been to the Broadaxe. They have really good chicken wings, and I love those chicken wings. Sure. And they still allow me to order a sandwich that's not on the menu anymore. They know when I shout out to Broadaxe. Next season sponsor.
Season 3 sponsor. That's fine. We'll broaden our horizons.
There you go.
Okay, so it's outside of music then. So then, okay, is it the small town charm? Is it the convenience? Is it the people? When
you say small town charm, that does not resonate with me at all. I grew up in a town that had less than 2,000 people in it. That's a small town.
Frederick's not that at all.
This is not a small town to me. I know, like
it's not a small town anymore either.
Right.
Yeah.
But when I also, it's the same thing, and I don't remember if I said this on air, but I think I said this to you in private before. I've been working in D.C. now. This marks a year. This week marks 1 year that I've been working in D.C.
Oh.
And officially, yeah, I passed my probation period. Yeah, so that's any government agency that's willing to hire me.
Wow.
Don't watch any other podcast.
Yeah, but hire him. What? Congratulations.
So, but you get into, and I've said this before, I work in Chinatown, 2 blocks from the Capital One Arena, and another 4 blocks from the Capitol itself.
Right.
Those are pretty big spaces in Washington, D.C. It feels like I'm in Kane, Pennsylvania now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
You carve out those spaces you go to, and like I could tell you every bar on Mass Ave for like 3 blocks at this point.
Sure.
Like that's how it feels in DC now, which I never thought was possible, but it does feel like that. And I hate everybody around me there, and I hate everything there. And it's the same thing in Frederick. Like I know my places that I like. If I want a Cuban sandwich, Sabor de Cuba. That's the best thing you could ever have in your life. If I want good chicken wings, I go out to Capitol Crave all the way out on 40. Nobody even knows that's open, right?
My old band played a show there.
Really?
With Stefan and Dylan from Halford Voices' old band.
That's perfect.
It was awful. They made us pay for everything.
No kidding.
Yeah, that place could blow up.
Sounds like it could be better show. But
Boom!
And if I want pizza, I'll go to J&P's Pizza. I'll go to Tommy's.
J&P?
Yeah.
You mean Pizza Blitz?
Well, that's the number one. But I honestly... So that's another thing. Chris and I, the impetus of this was we met at Pizza Bliss once or twice a week for a long, long time.
Yeah. It's coming back, though.
I hope so, because I haven't been there since we stopped.
I know. But, well, now we're going to have our new spot.
That's
Season 2 sponsor. It's going to be great.
Season 3 sponsor.
Dude, if pizza... Okay, anyway, so, but you're saying you've kind of carved out those familiar spaces, though, but, like, I'm not sold. Like, I get... Like you are a spring chicken. You're 35 years old. You just had your birthday.
We'll go with 35. Yes.
You're only 4 years older than me. 3 years older than me. 3 years older than me. And I get starting over's tough. I get that. Mm-hmm. But I also get that like Frederick's not the cheapest place to live, and I feel like you could probably find something relatively similar. Closer to where
it's more expensive toward DC.
I know, but you can still find something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't have tangible reasons to say this is why I'm staying in Frederick. What I will say though is that I really, really do like this locale. Mm-hmm. I live in a house, not this house because this is the Could Be Better Studios, but I live in a house that has 3 other apartments, and it's like the island of misfit toys. It's all of us have so many issues and so many problems. I like that. It's right on the creek. Like the amount of times that I'm just up at 5 a.m. and I can watch the sunrise by myself on the like that's a really nice thing. I've moved on from things too quickly in my life, and I do wonder if Frederick would be one of those things, and I don't want that to happen, and it is expensive. It's expensive to move. So that's really it.
Yeah. It's the non-answer I was not expecting, but the non-answer that I was expecting.
It is a non-answer.
Yeah.
I'll raise my hand on that. Yeah.
Okay. So then kind of you talked a little bit about work stuff, and we've kind of get into some of that. I think it's interesting. You don't seem to be burdened by the world events at large. And you and I kind of talk about certain things that'll happen, which is kind of the fun, but then also the frustrating part about this podcast is because we do, so again, more inside baseball, we tape 2 episodes on Sunday nights. Or at least we try.
Well, it's mostly been Wednesday nights.
I know,
yeah.
but it's been historically Wednesday nights. We've been trying for a shift this season for Sunday nights.
We got there twice, I think.
Yeah, it was tough. But with that, we try, because we do 2 episodes back to back, to kind of help with scheduling and all this other stuff. We get to the point where it's like we can't really talk too much about current events. But I think when I typically will walk in on Sundays, it's like we're kind of catching up at the end of the news cycle or whatever stuff. And it's like and you do media coverage and news coverage for your job, but I don't feel like you carry this weight for humanity that I feel like I do. And
I think you're right. Yeah.
And not like in a like you're a piece of shit for not caring about humanity, Colin.
I'm a piece of shit.
But like, how do you kind of walk that tightrope where it's like you're constantly asking other people about other things with them for music things, right? Because and you
That's
also
true.
you have your side gigs for wrestling, and you have a wonderful relationship with our favorite number 1 listener, Bethany, right? Which I don't think she's listened to 10 seconds yet of this episode or of this show. But so it's like, so you have a couple things that are like always kind of in the pipeline. But then again, like your day in, day out, like 4 a.m. until 3 p.m. or whenever it is you stop working. It's like, it's news. How do you not, like, do you just compartmentalize it, or like, how do you process it?
I think you answered that question when you said, you talked a little bit about how you wear the weight of the world on your shoulders, essentially, and you get the news and you process it in a very quick and drastic way. I don't, but I think that I don't, because I mean I'm 20 years now professionally in journalism. Like, you get, I could talk about those moments, those news-making moments through those 20 years that made me stop and say, whoa. And one of them, like, it wasn't even, not in my career. I was in high school when 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And I remember being in, like, school stopped. You just watched TV for the rest of the day. And I was on the soccer team. And it was my senior year. I'll never forget this. I forget everything, but I will not forget this. We had a game. We had a soccer game that afternoon. It was not canceled. It was about an hour 15 away. And we went and played it.
So, I mean, you're up in Pennsylvania, so hour west or hour east? Like,
Hour east. So it was like there was all these conversations.
You're
Nobody
going towards
should,
ground zero.
Yeah, can't do that. We went and played it, and I went and I got home, and I was living with only my dad at the time, and he worked for the Postal Service. I got home from the soccer game at 6 o'clock because it was an afternoon game. He was not home, and he bought this house that was tucked into the woods. Like, you couldn't. It was like a 2-bedroom. When it was cold, and where I grew up, it snowed 7 months a year, and it was below 0 4 of them. And so this was in September, so it was getting colder. And I remember being very scared when I was in that house by myself. He didn't get home for another couple hours, and I thought, oh my God, I played my soccer game from an hour 15 away, and now I'm back home, and he's still not home. What's going on? Like, news struck me then. That's the roundabout way of saying that. Yeah. These days, though, I don't know. Like, with the wires that you get, the Associated Press goes on and on, Reuters, whatever is left of that, TNS, it goes on and on. You get a bulletin, and it comes across, and it says, Michael Jackson died. All right. So now what? Like, because that happened to my first job out of college was in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and that happened. because they gave me a music column there, and I could just write about anything. And Michael Jackson died. You just go write. That's what you do. You just say, well, what do you think about it? Michael Jackson? I did it for the paper. I did it for this website called Pop Matters that I still have a relationship with, and just wrote. And yeah, you kind of get numb to it, I guess, is the answer.
Yeah. And it sucks because, like, I feel like that's just kind of like the general state that we're in, and then we carry that behavior over into other things, and it sucks.
Well, go on about that.
Well, like, okay, so it starts with news, and then it's like, okay, hey, then, like, your friend died. You know, like, and we talked about at the top of the show, like, hey, like, you know, it was Matt,
yeah.
And you're like, he hung himself, and you said it so matter-of-factly, which is still true. And then and as we played the song, like, you kind of choked a little bit.
I did.
Yeah. And so it's like, I get that. But it is tough where it's like, we take that same, like, desensitization of, is that a word? What's the word?
I don't know.
What's the word I'm trying to say? Desensitized.
Desensitized. That's probably the word.
That's
yes.
the right
and
word.
you were the one that's drunk now, not me. It's him.
The problem is I do this sober. So, but like, you get to that point where you're so like desensitized to news that like then that's at the macro level, and then you get to the micro level, it's the same thing. Where like, oh, you hear like, oh, my friend's dog got hit by a car. Well, like it was kind of old, so he probably did it a favor. You know what I mean? Like there's different things we kind of like do that with.
It is that, and I wonder. I really, really wonder where this line begins and ends.
Sure.
For me, at least, because there's really been a lot. Like, I think of the most important deaths in my life. It's really, really hard after a while to do anything other than say, so he's dead.
Yeah.
Or she's dead, or whatever that is. And that's, I mean, it is probably a combination of being in that industry for as long as I've been, and also just, you know, life is tough. Life is tough sometimes. So, it does make you sound crass. I understand that.
Sure.
I understand that. The best journalists that I've ever met in my life have no feelings. They have absolutely no feelings. Sure. Like, I'll talk to writers from the Washington Post, even the New York Times, or Rolling Stone even. I did this thing with Rolling Stone a bunch of years ago now. They don't have those emotions. They just don't. And I do. So but I'm obviously losing them, you know.
Sure.
With this conversation, like, it does get to that place. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's tough because, you know, I do appreciate having emotionless data sent to my brain.
You are a data person.
Yeah. Like, so I guessed it on the Weekly with Kiki the day of the shooting in Tennessee at that Christian school, and like hit me hard. The church I grew up in most of my life was attached to a Christian school, and so like when that happened, I'm like, oh man, I got hits differently. School shootings aside, and now having a kid, and like that's just all different. But it's like it's hard for me to kind of like see that and just not be like feeling that heavy sense. But then also like as I'm reading that article, I'm like, I want to know what happened. I want to know all this stuff. I want to know this stuff, which like we still haven't found out anything. Like which is like real hard for me to process. But like I get the value of having a robot. No pun intended, or no like weirdness intended with, you know, Chat GPT taking everybody's jobs, but like, but having like a reporter coming in with here are just the facts, and I don't need emotion. But at the same time, it's like there's some of the most iconic and memorable interviews or news reporting that I can see. Anderson Cooper specifically, when like he's on CNN and he's telling us about a story and he gets choked up. I'm like, oh, that's real fucking journalism. Like he's a real human being that sees that there's like pain and suffering and like able to kind of talk about that. But it's not Anderson Cooper cries when kid dies. Like that's not the headline you see, you know.
Right. Yeah.
It's 14 killed, armed gunman, white guy. White armed gunman down. You know, it's like, you know, like that's what you get. It's hard. I couldn't have been 23 years old, maybe 24, but maybe 22. I don't know. In my first job out of college in Punxsutawney, Groundhog Day. Shout out to Phil.
That's right. playoff P there. All right, Paul George needs to be traded. Anyway, so it was the way the paper worked, because it was a morning paper. When it got past a certain hour, I was in charge. And it just so happened at like 11 o'clock at night, there was this huge drug bust. Somebody, like the feds raided the feds. Remember, this is a very small town in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. They raided a house, and they found all this meth and all this stuff. And they arrested like 10 people from this place.
It's a big deal.
Huge deal. Punxsutawney is like you were talking about Frederick being a small town.
Sure.
Punxsutawney to me was the big city. And Punxsutawney still only had 4,000 people in it. Like, that was what that was. And I was the one in charge, and there was this this reporter who was, she was fine. And she had just come from the University of Pitt, I think. She was so scared going to the scene, essentially, which, again, it's a small town. You just have to walk a few blocks. You're at the house. She didn't want to talk to anybody. She didn't want to take any pictures. And we needed at least the perp walk. We needed them.
Right,
we needed to get people being arrested, thrown into a car. At the very least, we'll put a photo on the front page, and that's it. Like, we just need something. So she called. She kept calling my office phone. She was crying.
And you're at home?
No. I'm at the office. I'm in the newsroom, and she's like crying, and she's crying, and I don't know what to do, and what should I do? And it's like, well, you gotta stay there. You gotta get at least a photo. I understand if you look, again, like I said, I'm only 23, 24 years old. I'm not gonna force you to do anything, because I'm just not gonna do that. And we're in a small town, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm just like, hey, just stay on the phone with me, take a picture. Okay, are you done? Like, those types of news events. I'm talking about a drug raid in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, 15 years ago at this point, that is meaningless to everybody involved. Like, really, this amount of time later. And it's like, it ruined her. She got out of journalism right away. Like,
no way.
She got another job. She was from Chicago. She went back to Chicago.
And she works for a bank.
Probably. She's making 8 times as much money as I'm making. But those are the things, when you do that, when you do the journalism thing, that you get confronted with, that it's a really hard thing. It really is. Yeah. And people don't give it any credit because of fake news and all that.
Yeah, and it is an interesting climate to be in. And I think it is weird. It's like, I don't want to get too much into what you do today, but it's like, it is a unrespected, non-respected field that is incredibly important for democracy and our way of life that it is today. And it is so frustrating where it's like, when it gets knocked because of one person. But
I understand. I also understand both sides like that, and that's my internal problem. Like, I understand the distrust in media today. I really do, because media has become distrusting. It's very partisan, and it's split. Like, that's just how it goes. Yeah. But I do think there are people out there who just love news, right? And you consume the news. You know that.
Yeah. And it's been tough. Pretty much since like 2015. That's like when I was like, I need to pay attention more, But okay. Hope. Bring into this next part, and then we'll start to wrap. So, gut, knee-jerk reaction is your reaction to things is not hopeful. However, I feel like at least doing this podcast together, at least being friends for 5 years, 6 years?
Sure, yeah, probably at least, yeah.
Yeah, we toured, 2017, 16 together? Something
you made like
that.
a poster. I still have that poster.
Yeah, it's a cool poster.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, it's let's say almost 10 years.
Sure.
I think that sounds fair at this point. So we've been only friends for almost 10 years. Your typical, response to things, like when I'm being down or I'm being, negative about something, when you're at your best, you don't feed into that at all. You always have, this look on a situation that is positive, that is realistic, but then is also not sugarcoating anything. Where did that come from? And is that just like an active choice where you just want to be the opposite of whatever is in that scenario to kind of like be that hopeful, or do you believe it?
Oh, I don't believe in the whole contrarian thing. I don't think that it's just being opposite. I really don't. There is something that I really truly believe in. Maybe this will be season 3 finale, but I think that there are two sides to everything. I really do. And you and I have had a lot of conversations about two sides to stories.
Sure.
And I'm not saying, that I won't agree with you. I'm not saying that one is, like whatever, but I really truly believe that there should be grace. There should be grace involved. If I didn't have the ability to forgive people in my life growing up, I would have a much, if anybody could even believe it, a much sadder life than I have right now. So I believe in that, and I believe in forgiveness, and I believe that people have reasons. You can't see reasons a lot of the time when you're angry, when you're sad, when you're angry, when the emotions cloud everything. You can't see the reasons, but I'm a very big believer that everybody has reasons, and you should listen to them.
But like, okay, so I'm a new parent to a kid that doesn't know about forgiveness and doesn't know about grace and doesn't know about second chances and doesn't know about like doing something wrong and doing something right for that. I mean, like, we clap when he does a good job, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and, he knows that.
Yeah.
And like, we go, and he's like, snaps his head. But like, where did forgiveness and grace kind of, I mean, it's like, I've met your dad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's a man of few words. But like, I've never met your mom. I've heard, stories about your mom, all in good,
Sure.
but like, where did that forgiveness thread and that grace thread, like, typically how I've seen it, it's like when people say grace specifically, it's typically like a church word, right?
Mm-hmm.
But folks that are advocates for grace have been shown a lot of grace. So it's like, I guess, like, have you been shown grace other places, or was that just something like, hey, you saw in other people and that's what you wanted to carry into certain things? Like, tell me a little bit about that genesis of that.
I don't know. When you make me think about being shown grace, that does change something, at least, because I had never thought of it that way. I guess it's probably twofold. I think I was 15, maybe 16. The first time that I tried to kill myself, and I got really close, and I was really pumped on that, and that resulted in me spending some time in the hospital for a long time. And it was around Thanksgiving. And my whole family was really worried. And it was a really big thing. I was really worried about going back to school when I got out of that.
Because you're high school at that point?
Yeah, high school. That was the whole thing. I had this big basketball future and stuff like that. And there were these people who were very nice. They were very, very nice. It wasn't a stigma. It wasn't all of the things that I probably feared.
Sure.
I think that's important. Now, the other side of that, of course, is I grew up in a home that wasn't great, and I was witness to a bunch of stuff, and I have that choice. I have a choice to forgive, or I have a choice to extend an arm, or extend some type of something that I had to, I guess I just had to find. I had to find within myself, or I wouldn't have those family members, because it would be very easy for me to say that I don't have those family members, but I do.
Right.
And I'm happy that I do. I believe that those things are choices. If we are defined by our worst moments, I don't really know where that gets us. Because it is awful. It is the absolute worst. If I'm going to be defined by my worst moment, there is no reason I should even be alive right now, because my worst moments are the worst. And I'm sure everybody feels that way, right? Like, you feel that way too.
Yeah. Back to people that, when you got back to school, people were very nice. Who are those people? Like what sticks out to you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
friends. You know what? Actually, some friends in the church that I was going to at the time.
Presbyterian, Methodist.
Yeah, Presbyterian. Yeah. They were very, very nice. Very, very nice. And sometimes I even hear from them today, you know. I hear just like, hey, you doing okay? Like that type of thing, which is so cool. Like, people nobody is morally obligated to be nice. Nobody does that. Like, everybody has their own way through life, which is why So I started this thing on my birthday. Did I tell you about this? No, you can't see it. You can't see it.
What's this in the front?
Oh, it's a bar. It's a bar notebook.
Kane, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
So I'm keeping.
For people that are just listening, Colin is showing up a little like notebook.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I thought it would be a great idea, starting on my birthday, which is, at this point is a few weeks ago. I think it's really important to reach out to somebody you haven't reached out to in a long time and say something really good.
Sure.
So I've been chronicling those conversations and those since I turned 35. We'll go with that. And just to... I think it's a good thing, man. I think you believe in this too. Like, you randomly reach out to your friends and say, hey, I love you, right? Like, that's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Don't tell me I'm the only one.
No. I mean, I think that there's a special connectedness to us all. I mean, I appreciate you so much. I know, but like, just to pause, real quick, it was like, I love you so much, and I'm so glad we get to do this together. And thanks for kind of opening up. But for people that generally don't tune in for this, thanks for hanging in there.
It's a different one.
It's a different one, but I think it's like, hey, like this is a bit just kind of like this is what we talk about. Like, I mean, and this is, I think, kind of the fun thing about us being as friends is like, it's heavy stuff. It's encouraging things. It's life, and it's also real, and it's fun because it's like, hey, like we are the two bastards behind doing things in Frederick, and everyone's got their shit and everyone's got their baggage, and like we're all kind of like working through this together, and it's cool when you get the chance to kind of like talk about it. So thank you for kind of talking about it. But to get into your thing, it's like I do think there is a connection to this planet, to this world, to where we are, where there is things you can't explain. And sometimes it's like, hey, you have that thought about that person while driving, while shaving, while brushing your teeth, while whatever, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna go text that person. That's kind of, hey man, like, I love you, or yeah, like there's something special about that. I don't know what it is, but sometimes like this come at the right times, and sometimes those come at really bad times.
They do, and what I really believe in, and I've been saying that phrase a lot, but you see this on social media, especially. It's like check in on your people. Like
Yeah.
I really believe in that. I really do, because there are a lot of times when people don't feel good.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I can say this, you know, there have been those random times where those random people have said, "Hey, what's up?" And it was a really good thing.
Yeah.
That's I really think that's important. And it's so easy now. It's so easy in this day to not do that anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody does that, right?
Yeah.
Like that's really what that is. Nobody actually thinks about that, because everybody's life and everybody's story is so much more important than everything else. That's what we all think, right?
Yeah. And then it's tough because then you also feel like, oh, you don't want to be that guy from high school that's like the nostalgia guy, right?
Right.
But
yeah.
like there is value of like, and good memories are still good memories.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And I have not been the best friend. I've not been the best family member. I've not been the best person. But, you know, maybe on a random Wednesday I could say, "Hey, I love you. Keep going. Keep doing what you do." I think that's important.
Yeah.
I really do. And I
Yeah.
think you do too.
Yeah. No, I mean, encouragement and pushing people, you know, helping kind of people move forward, or just having some sort of like, and, you know, I think about it like, you know, the race, everyone's clapping and cheering you on. It's like, man, there's not enough of that. Like, because everyone's got to have their own opinion. Oh, you're doing it wrong. It's like, no, like everyone has their own path. Everyone's going, figuring out what's best for them and trying to do the next right thing. And that's like different for everybody. And so it's like, rather than like telling people where to go, we just need to kind of be cheering people on. And so, yeah.
Most definitely, yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I'm lost. I'm lost. You ask, it kind of comes full circle now. This is a good closing the circle situation. You know, why are you still in Frederick? Why is this? I don't know. I don't know those things. But I know some people that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I love you. You know, I love a lot of people here.
Yeah.
I do. Even if they don't love me back.
Sure.
I love them. Even
Sure.
if you don't love me back, fuck you. We'll fight. But, I do really, I know this is so naive. I know this is so naive. I know everybody's going to say it's naive. I believe in people. I do. I don't want to be around people. I don't. A lot of times. Especially anymore, it's becoming increasingly hard for me, which is something I really need to fix and I really need to take care of. But I really believe in people. And I think that people, at their core, really actually invest in both sides too. Everybody knows it's not some magic self-awareness. It's not that. But I think that people, if they put themselves in another person's shoes, they could actually figure out a way to see what they think and what they feel in a much more clear way than how they feel it now. And I'll advocate for that for the rest of time. I know I'm in the minority. I know that sounds very dumb, but yeah, you got me thinking about it, crying and shit.
Yeah.
Fuck all y'all. Fuck you. No, this is not a facade. Fuck you.
Empathy is a lost art. And I think you're right. People being able to relate to the person that they disagree with the most in that moment is very hard.
There have been a lot of people who have hurt me, but I have hurt a lot of people too. And I'm not taking that away. I'm not taking that away. I have hurt a lot of people too, but I know that a lot of people have hurt me. It is up to me to do what I want with that hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I have much room in my carry-on baggage when I get onto the airplane for any more than I got. I got my laptop. I got my sex toys. I got all this shit. I don't got room for that. So I need to leave that baggage over there. And I really believe that if you can find a little bit of forgiveness and a little bit of grace, you should do it because it'll change your life.
Yeah.
And I believe that. So that's that.
Yeah.
That's
Appreciate you, bunch.
Fuck off.
Love you tons. Here's and this is that's how our conversations go. We'll literally talk on Sundays, and it'll be like slip something like this and be like, all right, fuck you, I'll talk to you later. It's like, all right, love you too, man. Bye. All right, we're gonna get into our rapid fire here. We're gonna bring us home. Love you tons. Try to touch your finger there. Wait a minute. Wait there. Yeah, there it is. All right, so this is.
I gotta get the music.
Yeah, you gotta get the music.
There we go.
So this is
We're on.
the second to last time we're going to do our specialty segment where we ask 5 rapid fire questions where you can answer them in however many words you want. They just have to be short.
They will be.
And you,
They will be very
for folks that are listening and are still listening, because this is our longest episode to date.
Until yours.
We'll see, buddy. You get 10% off your first order at special-tees.com. Tell them Could Be Better sent you. And so, Colin, here is our rapid fire question. So, what is your NBA Finals prediction? Question number 1.
Oh, because this will be out right away, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to go.
This will be out Thursday.
Yeah. So some of these series could be over by then. I will go.
Lakers and who? Come on, let's be real.
I gotta go Los Angeles. I'm gonna go Lakers, and I think 76ers are. I think
too.
they got
West
I
Coast,
think
East
they're
Coast.
bit, yeah.
It's fine. Yeah, Tupac and Biggie are gonna come out from the dead.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
fight.
Well, Biggie's from New York, but hey.
Well, it's the same thing. East Coast, whatever. It's fine. Philly, New York. It's the same place. Favorite wrestler of all time?
I don't have that. I can't do that. I don't know. I will say, nobody's ever seen this on camera. AJ Styles. I love these figures. AJ Styles, send me a figure.
Who's that?
You know, this dude, he didn't get to WWE until he was almost 40. He just grinded his ass off on the independents, wrestling on the creek in Frederick until he got there. So I have a lot of respect for that.
Bucket list show you want to see in Frederick?
In Frederick?
In Frederick.
Okay, here we go. How many bands do I get?
3.
3?
Perfect number.
One's Mr. Husband. I'm a guy. I have to put Mr. Husband there. I'm going to qualify this next one only because I want to see the Fun Boys with Kevin Etzler playing drums.
Oh, shit. So what is Colin going to do?
Colin will play keyboards.
That'd be kind of sick.
Yeah. So Colin on keyboards, Kevin playing drums, Matt on bass, and then Sam doing the Sam stuff.
Oh shit! So Austin.
No! I didn't mean that. To bring. God damn, yeah, Austin. Yeah, bring Austin too. Give me that fun.
And then Haas on guitar.
Yes.
Yeah.
So 6-piece.
Yeah.
6-piece.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Let's do all that.
Be sick.
And then you want to know what I'm going to do, but it's going to be qualified again. I want to see Natalie Brooke with a 5-piece horn section. That's what I want to see.
That'd be a sick show. I paid $25 for that ticket.
I'd pay a lot for that.
How much would you pay?
$5.
Stop. All right. Fourth question. Bucket list guest you want on the show that's not Chris.
Does it have to be? I mean,
It can be
it's
any-
no fun if it's like we just spread it out to King Charles or something.
I mean,
right?
hey, why not? I mean, you could say like a guest we could likely get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesse Lacey.
That would be an interesting guest.
We'd have more views.
We would. And it'd be on chat roulette.
Hey, okay. All right. Here we go. 5.
Number 5, last one. What was the last time you saw something beautiful?
So that's a great question that I'm going to end by saying Genesis.
Oh. Begin by saying
So I
Genesis.
have this theory, and I've written about this a lot, the things that nobody will ever see. Chris, you have to, this is interactive. I feel this thing. Do you know when you know true love? Do you know that?
Oh, sure. I do.
How do you define that? When do you know? Because I have this.
Yeah. I think it's a thing where when you get asked, you can't explain it.
I think it's when you see a beautiful sunset and you think of somebody
Mm.
And that person that comes into your mind when you see the most beautiful sunset you've ever seen, that's true love. That's what and that could be grandma, that could be a wife, that could be anybody.
But your dog.
Could be your dog, most definitely. So, that said, I'm an old motherfucker, and I'm walking back from the train the other day, and my legs don't work, and I'm sniffling, I'm eating bugs. All I do is I need a drink. And I turn around on that bridge right over there from over by Steinhardt, and I turn around, and Frederick had the most beautiful sunset ever, and that was the last most beautiful thing that I've seen. Sunsets really affect me. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Hey.
How about you?
That's not how this works. We're going to get into our season finale soon. Thanks for tuning in. This is the longest episode of the Could Be Better podcast ever, and it makes sense that I got to do it with my best friend, Colin McGuire. Colin, thanks for being vulnerable. Thanks for being a human. Thanks for, kind of getting into places that I wasn't expecting to go.
I hope nobody sees this.
I think a lot of people are going to see it. I'm going to promote this ad, actually, so like this episode gets
Chris gets to be Anderson Cooper. That's what that is.
No, that's fine. You were doing great. You looked into the camera, had a little tear. That's beautiful.
I think.
You just don't have the silver white hair.
Yeah.
White hair. He's not silver.
I don't have hair. Yeah.
So, this is it. We're going to get into our final episode here soon. Eventually. Colin, this was great.
Should I do the outro?
Let's do the outro. This is it. Bye. See you soon.
The Could Be Better podcast is allegedly heard in 25 different countries around the world, and definitely still not recorded in a bedroom.
Yeah, okay. Still, check out our worldwide website, www.couldbebettermeh.com, for links to our social media and our fancy brand new revamped YouTube channel that now has actual video.
And if you don't like what you see, well, neither do we. But if you want to hear from smarter, better, more educated, and cultured people, please check out the new podcasts. This is Not My Magnum Opus and The Weekly with Kiki on our brand new Could Be Better podcast network. And don't hesitate to leave us or them, actually, probably just them, a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, Chris, did I miss anything?
Yeah, man, we do a lot of shows. Whatever.
Well, can I find them on our website?
I'm Chris Perry.
And I'm Colin McGuire, and we are out of time. So for now, remember, everybody, this always could be better.